I'm going to teach you a very simple stitch called the linen stitch. It's also called moss stitch or granite stitch, who knows, but I'm going to call it linen stitch. And I'm also going to kind of teach you how to read a pattern while we're creating this. So let's get started. The first thing it tells us to do is chain an even number. So CH stands for chain. So I'm going to get my chain started by making a little slip knot, and however you do this is fine. You don't have to do it the same way as me. Whatever gets you a little loop right here that you can work with is absolutely fine. Next, we're going to single crochet. Okay, so we need to chain an even number first. I'm not going to chain a giant chain. I just want you to see what it looks like. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, a lot of fuzz in this yarn, 8, 9, 10, let's do 12, 11, 12. All right, so I've chained an even number, check. Next, we're going to SC, which means single crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. So that means we're not going to do our normal thing. You don't ever count the chain that's on your hook. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is where we're going to single crochet. And I'm just going to come up through there and make my single crochet. So you can see how that makes this little standing crochet right here. That just basically counts as our end. So that's a crochet, a space, and then we've made a crochet. All right, now we're going to chain 1, skip 1, and single crochet. So we know how to chain because we just made this chain, right? So let's just yarn over and pull up a loop so that we've chained 1. And then we would normally crochet right here, but we're going to skip 1, and instead we're going to crochet in this one. Just a single crochet. All right. And now it says repeat from star to star across. So that means we're going to do this until we hit the end, ending with a single crochet in the last chain. So we did our single crochet, so we're going to chain 1, skip 1, and single crochet in here. So that's my single crochet. I'm going to yarn over and chain 1, and then I'm going to skip the next one, and then I'm going to go into here. So there's my single, and then I'll chain 1, skip 1, and then I will crochet into the last chain. So there we go. That's my first row of linen stitch, and it doesn't look like much now because we haven't created the pattern yet. All right, so for row 2 we're going to chain 2, and it says this counts as a single crochet plus a chain 1. So we're going to chain 1, chain 2, and we're going to turn it. Now we're going to chain 1, skip 1, single across. So we already did a single and a chain 1 because it tells us single crochet, chain 1. And then we're going to single crochet in the first chain 1 space. That means down here, this is where we left a chain 1. So instead of going into the stitch, we're going into the hole. And we're making our stitch right there in the hole. And then we're going to chain 1. And we're going to skip this stitch. There's the stitch, but there's the next chain space. So we're going to single crochet in that chain space and then chain 1 and then find our next chain space. And if it's too confusing to find the chain spaces, remember your stitch below makes a V. So like there's the V and there's the V. So this big hole here is going to be where our chain space was. So we're just going to single crochet in there. We chain 1 and then we go to our next chain space, which is here. Single crochet, chain 1, and here is our next chain space. So we're going to single crochet in that chain space, and let's see, ending with a single crochet in the chain 2 space. So that's what we just did, because that was our chain 2 space from the previous row. Now we're going to repeat row 2 for the remainder. So that means we're coming back here and we're going to chain 2. So 1, 2, and then we're going to turn. And we will single crochet in the first chain 1 space. So if we look here, I can see this V. There's my space. There's another V. There's a space. There's another V. There's a space. So in my first chain 1 space, we're going to single crochet. Single crochet, chain 1, and then I'm going to go into my next chain space. I'm going to single crochet, chain 1, next chain space, single crochet, and chain 1, next chain space, single crochet, chain 1, and then we should end in our chain 2 space that was right here. So we're going to single crochet here. That's the last one. And then as we did before, we're going to chain 2. So 1, 2, turn our work around, and we're getting going. All right. So now we can find our first chain space there. And we're going to single crochet, and then we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to find our next chain space. If you're having trouble finding the chain spaces, you also can single crochet, skip 1, and then go and find that hole. But there's my hole, so I'm going to single crochet. I'm going to chain 1, skip this, and get in that hole from before. Single crochet, chain 1, and then go in that hole. Single crochet, chain 1, and then we are down to our chain space at the end. So we're going to go in here, add that single crochet, and then because we're at the end, we're going to chain 2 again. So there's 2. We'll turn, and we're going to find our first chain space. So you can start seeing, if you look, you can start seeing there's a V here, a V here, a V here, a V here. Those are our stitches. So we're going to go into the first chain space with our single crochet. And just like before, chain 1, find our next chain space, which is here. Single crochet, chain 1, find our next hole, single crochet, chain 1, find our next space, single crochet, and then what are we doing? We are chaining 1, and then we're in our chain 2 space from when we started. So that's going to be our last single crochet. And then like before, we're going to chain 1, 2, and turn. So you can see how this is starting to come out, and it looks different than single crochet. It's a really fun one if you're going to alternate colors for each row. Let's do a little more of this one, because why not? All right, so single crochet, chain 1. Did I go in the wrong place? I think I went in the wrong place. Okay, my mistake. All right, we're going to single crochet into the chain space, not into the chain that we made. There's a difference. Okay, so single crochet into the chain space, chain 1, and then single crochet into the next chain space, chain 1, single crochet in the next chain space, chain 1, single crochet in the next chain space, and chain 1, and then we've reached the end. We've reached the chain space that we used at the very beginning. So we're going to single crochet into that chain space, and then we're going to chain 2, and we're going to turn. We're going into our first chain space. So if you kind of pull it, you can pull it up and out. You can see those holes. Those are our chain spaces. So this is my first chain space. I'm going to go single crochet, chain 1, find my next hole, single crochet, chain 1, find our next hole, single crochet, chain 1, find my next chain space, chain 1, and get in our last chain space and do our single crochet, and then chain up 2 and turn. I'm pretty excited. I think we're going to start hitting the blue soon, and you're really going to be able to see the differentiation of the V's here. So we're going to go into the first chain space, make a single crochet, and then chain 1, find the next chain space, single crochet, chain 1, find that next chain space, single crochet, chain 1, chain space, single crochet, chain 1, and our last chain space is here, so we will single crochet for the end of our row, and then we're going to chain 1, 2, and turn. All right, so we're doing well. It's kind of a very looks more like a basket than regular crochet to me. Okay, let's find our first space, which is going to be here, and we're going to single crochet into it, chain 1, single crochet into our chain space, chain 1, single crochet into our chain space, chain 1, single crochet into our chain space, and chain 1, and then we have our last chain space here, so we're going to single crochet into there, and then we're going to chain 2 because that's what we do at the end, and turn. All right, now once again we find that chain space and we go straight in there, single crochet, chain 1. This is all you do for linen stitch. Single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1, and then in our last chain 2 space we're going to single crochet. I'll do 1 or 2 more rows with you. Alrighty. So at the end of my row, once again, I'm going to chain 1, chain 2, and turn. Let's find our first hole, our first chain space. So we are going to single crochet there, chain 1, there's our next hole. So we're single crochet and chain 1, next hole, single crochet. All right, single crochet, chain 1, and there's our next chain space. So we're going to single crochet, chain 1, and we come to our very last chain space. So we are going to, let's see, where is that chain space? It's here. It's not down here, it's here. And I know that not only because of the colors, but because I can see this row, like the horizontalness of this row. And I know that I need to be working up here because I can see the other ones that I just made. So I know that this stitch needs to be kind of on the same level as those. So it's going to be here. There's my chain space. So I'm going to make my last single crochet and then chain 2 and turn. And we're going to go into the first chain space and make our single crochet. We're going to chain 1, find our next chain space, single crochet, chain 1, and find our next chain space, and single crochet, chain 1, next space, single crochet, chain 1, and then we find our final chain space, which is right here. So we're going to get in there, we're going to single crochet, and then we're at the end of our row. So we are going to chain 2 again. But that is it. That is our that's our linen stitch. And you can kind of see, and maybe it works better with a yarn that's not variegated in 2 colors. But you can kind of see it's like V, 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 space, 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 space. And it's almost like interlocking little teeth. But it's a very sturdy stitch. It's got a lot of connection. The holes aren't really big. It's a sturdy stitch. It's a really nice flat stitch. So if you want to make, maybe you want to make a blanket that's not too heavy, you want to make sort of a light blanket, this is a great simple stitch to make something out of, a washcloth, things of that nature. So there's your linen stitch. And next up, I think is going to be a stitch that uses both single and double crochet and skip stitching. So that will be fun. All right, practice your linen stitch and see what you think.